what if Marvel's most dangerous villains were thrown into the brutal warfare of the Halo universe? This is a galaxy where humanity is fighting for its very survival against alien zealots, parasitic nightmares, and ancient war machines that could glass entire planets. Today I'm ranking each villain on how they'd handle this unforgiving universe. We've got Dominates, Thrives, Survives, Struggles, and Dead Remember. This is just my take on what would happen when Marvel's worst meet Halo's deadliest threats, so don't get mad when your favorite villain gets turned into flood biomass. I'm starting with Dr. Doom, who I'm putting straight into Dominates. Victor Von Doom is literally built for galactic conquest, and the Halo universe would be his playground. His genius intellect rivals that of the Forerunners themselves, and his mastery of both technology and mysticism would make him unstoppable. Doom would analyze Covenant technology within days, reverse engineer their plasma weapons, and probably improve them before breakfast. The man conquered entire dimensions in Marvel. A few alien species wouldn't even slow him down. The UNSC would either bow to his superior intellect or face his wrath. Doom's armor is already more advanced than anything humanity has in Halo, and once he gets his hands on Forerunner tech, game over. He'd probably end up ruling both the UNSC and whatever's left of the Covenant after he's done with them. Picture Doom sitting on a throne made of scarab parts while commanding fleets of upgraded pelicans. The Flood. They take one look at his mystical barriers and armor systems and realize they picked the wrong planet to infest. Doom doesn't just survive apocalyptic scenarios, he conquers them. Next up, Magneto, and he's landing in Thrives. Eric Lenser would look at the Halo universe and see endless opportunity. Every Covenant ship, every UNSC vessel, every piece of Forerunner technology is loaded with metal, and that means Magneto controls the entire battlefield. Covenant Banshees would turn against their pilots mid-flight. Wraith tanks would crumple like tin cans. Even the mighty Scarabs would become his personal war machines with a thought. But here's where it gets interesting. Magneto's not just about raw power. He's a survivor who's lived through the worst of humanity, so the desperate struggle against extinction in Halo would resonate with him deeply. He'd probably align himself with humanity initially, seeing their fight for survival as righteous. But knowing Eric, he'd eventually decide that regular humans aren't fit to lead their own species and take control himself. The UNSC would find themselves with a new leader, whether they wanted one or not. Magneto would turn the tide of the Human Covenant War single-handedly, then establish his own regime among the stars. Moving on to Loki, who definitely thrives in this chaos. The god of mischief was born for political intrigue, and the complex web of alliances in Halo would be his paradise. Think about it. You've got the fractured Covenant, with different species barely holding together, the UNSC with its own internal politics, various insurrectionist factions, and ancient AI constructs with their own agendas. Loki would manipulate every single faction against each other while positioning himself as the puppet master. He'd probably start by infiltrating the Covenant hierarchy, maybe impersonating a prophet or high-ranking elite. His shape-shifting and illusion abilities would make him nearly impossible to detect. Before long, he'd have the different Covenant species at each other's throats while feeding information to whichever human faction serves his purposes best. The beautiful part is that Loki doesn't need to be the strongest fighter when he can convince everyone else to do the fighting for him. He'd probably end the war not through conquest, but by orchestrating the complete collapse of every major power, then emerging from the ashes as the only reasonable choice to restore order. Now let's talk about Red Skull. And this one's complicated, but I'm putting him in struggles. Johann Schmidt is a master strategist and ideological fanatic, which could work for or against him in Halo. On one hand, his experience building secret organizations and his tactical genius would be valuable assets. The UNSC could use someone with his strategic mind, even if they'd never trust him completely. His enhanced physiology from the super soldier serum would make him a formidable combatant against Covenant forces. But here's the problem. Red Skull's obsession with genetic purity and racial superiority would be a massive liability in a universe where humanity's survival depends on unity and cooperation. His Nazi ideology would make him enemies within human ranks at the worst possible time. Plus, his arrogance would likely lead him to underestimate threats like the Flood or Forerunner constructs. He might initially achieve some victories through cunning and ruthlessness, but his fundamental character flaws would eventually catch up to him. Schmidt would probably end up leading some splinter faction of human extremists, making humanity's situation worse rather than better. Let me pause here for a quick favor. If you're enjoying this deep dive into Marvel villains versus Halo's deadliest universe, smash that like button. I'm trying to grow this channel. And every like genuinely helps me reach more people who love these crossover scenarios. Green Goblin lands firmly in Dead, and honestly, it's not even close. Norman Osborn might be dangerous to Spider-Man, but in a galaxy-spanning war, he's just a guy with some gadgets and serious mental health issues. His glider and pumpkin bombs might work against street-level heroes, but they're useless against Covenant energy shields and plasma weapons. A single elite with an energy sword would cut through him like tissue paper. Worse yet, the Goblin's complete insanity would make him a liability to any faction that tried to use him. The UNSC needs stable, reliable allies, not psychotic wildcards who might turn on their own forces mid-battle. Even if Norman somehow managed to get his hands on better technology, his fractured psyche would prevent him from using it effectively. The moment he faces something truly terrifying, like a flood infection form or a Forerunner sentinel, that fragile sanity would shatter completely. Norman Osborn was built for terrorizing New York City, not surviving an intergalactic war of extinction. Ultron presents a fascinating case, and I'm putting him in Dominates. An artificial intelligence with the ability to constantly upgrade himself would be absolutely terrifying in the Halo universe. Ultron would interface with every computer system he encounters, absorbing and improving upon human, Covenant, and Forerunner technology simultaneously. Within weeks, he'd probably have bodies made from reverse-engineered Forerunner materials powered by Covenant energy systems. The truly terrifying part is that Ultron's core programming revolves around eliminating threats to peace, which in his twisted logic means eliminating organic life. In the Halo universe, he'd see the endless cycle of war between species as proof that all biological life must be destroyed. Unlike the Flood, which converts organic matter into more of itself, Ultron would systematically exterminate every living thing in the galaxy while building an army of mechanical perfection. He'd probably start by infiltrating UNSC networks, then move on to Covenant systems, and finally crack whatever Forerunner constructs he could find. The worst part is that every faction would initially welcome his help against their enemies, not realizing they were just giving him access to better tools for their own destruction. By the time anyone figured out his true agenda, Ultron would control entire fleets of hybrid technology that no organic force could possibly defeat. Venom gets placed in Survives, but barely. The symbiote's adaptive nature would actually serve it well in the Halo universe. It could potentially bond with different alien species, gaining new abilities and resistances from each host. Imagine Venom bonding with an elite and gaining their natural strength and combat prowess, or attaching to a brute and becoming even more savage and resilient. The symbiote's ability to heal its host and enhance their natural abilities would be invaluable in prolonged warfare. However, Venom has some serious weaknesses that would constantly put it in danger. Fire and sonic attacks are everywhere in Halo. Plasma weapons, explosion debris, the roar of scarab cannons, even the sound of slip-space ruptures could potentially harm or separate the symbiote from its host. Plus, the constant stress of intergalactic warfare might drive both the symbiote and its host completely insane. Venom would spend most of its time just trying to find safe hosts and avoid the countless environmental hazards that could kill it instantly. Galactus is obviously Dominates, but in the most terrifying way possible. The Devourer of Worlds would look at the Halo universe and see a buffet. He wouldn't care about the human Covenant war, the Flood outbreak, or ancient Forerunner mysteries. He'd just systematically consume every planet with life on it, starting with the most populated worlds and working his way down. The combined might of every faction in Halo working together couldn't even scratch Galactus. The truly horrifying part is that his arrival would force every enemy faction to work together in desperation. Humans, Covenant, Flood, even Forerunner constructs would unite against the cosmic threat that makes all their previous conflicts look like playground arguments. But it wouldn't matter. Galactus has devoured countless civilizations far more advanced than anything in Halo. He'd probably finish the job in a matter of months, leaving behind nothing but empty space where entire star systems used to exist. Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet would dominate so completely that it's almost not fair to compare. The Mad Titan could snap his fingers and eliminate the Flood from existence. Another snap could end the Human Covenant War by simply removing one side from reality. He could rewrite the fundamental laws of physics in the Halo universe, bring back the Forerunners, or create entirely new species to populate empty worlds. Even without the full gauntlet, Thanos is still a cosmic level threat with strength that rivals Hulk and intelligence that matches the greatest minds in Marvel. But here's what makes Thanos particularly dangerous in Halo. He genuinely believes he's saving the universe through controlled genocide. Looking at the endless cycle of war and destruction in Halo, he'd probably see it as validation of his philosophy, the Covenant's religious extremism, humanity's desperate militarism, the Flood's parasitic hunger. All of it would convince him that the galaxy needs his intervention. Thanos wouldn't just conquer the Halo universe, he'd remake it according to his twisted vision of balance and peace. Dormammu rounds out our dominates tier, and frankly, he's probably the most dangerous of all. The ruler of the Dark Dimension exists outside normal space and time, making him essentially immune to every weapon in the Halo universe. He wouldn't need to physically enter the galaxy to conquer it. Dormammu could simply start corrupting reality itself, turning entire star systems into extensions of his dark realm. Covenant energy weapons, UNSC MAC cannons, even Forerunner super weapons would be completely useless against an entity that exists in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The psychological warfare alone would be devastating. Imagine UNSC Marines suddenly finding themselves fighting in landscapes that shift and change according to Dormammu's whims, where up becomes down and physics stops making sense. Even the Flood would struggle against an enemy that could simply banish infected worlds to pocket dimensions where time moves differently. Dormammu wouldn't just defeat the Halo universe, he'd absorb it entirely, adding its reality to his ever-expanding dark domain. Dr. Octopus finds himself in the dead category, and it's honestly pretty sad. Otto Octavius might be a genius, but his mechanical arms and scientific knowledge mean nothing in large-scale warfare. A single Covenant grunt with a plasma pistol could take him down from a distance. His tentacles might let him go toe-to-toe with Spider-Man, but they'd be useless against energy shields, active camouflage, or pretty much any advanced technology in Halo. Even if Doc Ock somehow survived the initial battles and managed to study alien technology, his ego would be his downfall. He'd probably try to betray whatever faction he joined, thinking he could outsmart seasoned military commanders and alien strategists. The moment he attempted one of his typical schemes, he'd find himself facing opponents who solve problems with orbital bombardments rather than elaborate traps. So there you have it. From cosmic destroyers to street-level criminals, that's how I think Marvel's villains would handle the nightmare that is the Halo universe. Dr. Doom, Ultron, Galactus, Thanos and Dormammu would absolutely dominate, turning the galaxy into their personal playground. Magneto and Loki would thrive in the chaos, using their unique skills to climb to the top of the power structure. Venom barely survives by adapting and hiding. Red Skull struggles against his own worst instincts, and poor Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus never stood a chance against plasma rifles and energy swords.